What's going on, my PT peeps and my Walking Dead family? Welcome to the PT channel. I'm One Eye Bry, back to talk about The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 4, and soon to be 5. Obviously, spoiler warning for Episode 904 and soon to be Episode 905. And when I say 904 and 905, that's Season 9, Episode 4 and Episode 5. And obviously, I want to just give that spoiler warning. We're going to break down the trailer for episode 905, and I'm very excited and also a little terrified what we're going to see in this Sunday's episode. But first, if you love The Walking Dead and The Walking Dead family, become a valued member of the PT channel and our Walking Dead family by hitting that subscribe button. Photo credit and info credit to these fine folks right here. Just giving credit where credit is due. Now, Season 9, Episode 5 is titled, What Comes After? Rick is forced to face the past as he struggles to maintain the safety of the communities and protect the future he and Carl envisioned. Well, I would definitely say he struggles to maintain the safety of the communities, but I'm just worried about himself. I don't care about the communities right now, as I'm worried about Rick Grimes. And in the marketing and advertising, they clearly state Rick Grimes' last episode. So that's crazy to think that we're not going to have Rick Grimes anymore this season, let alone in the series. Rick Grimes' last episode. So it looks to be his final episode. Rick is clearly injured and wounded. We saw that at the end of episode 904 when the horse went up. He fell down on the rebar, and it kind of takes me back to season 1, episode 1 when he got shot. Kind of the same kind of thing. He was laying on the ground and just wounded, then he ended up in the coma. And if you've seen the trailer already, you know there's a lot of callbacks, a lot of flashbacks, a lot of hallucinations, and a lot of connections from prior seasons to this one. And I think they're going to wrap up the Rick Grimes story from season 1 all the way to season 9. But Rick is clearly injured on a white horse. He's bleeding like a sieve. And then we see this awesome shot right here. I was just recently in Atlanta and I was on the bridge that they used for this focal point. Obviously, this is CGI and it's a difference of season 1 to season 9 where Rick is on a horse again, but followed by walkers this time. And I just don't know how he's going to save himself. Clearly, he pulls himself off of the rebar and he ties a piece of shirt or something around the wound to put pressure on it, but Rick's not doing so well. And hopefully you caught the idea that the herds that Eugene was talking about are converging on Rick's location to make a giant horde. But Rick is clearly on the rebar at the end of episode 904. I don't know if someone comes to help him or save him. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I could see Rick just pulling himself off. And he's losing a lot of blood, but then he's hallucinating a lot of this. And I love the shots right here because it's straight off the variant comic cover of all the dead people around Rick. Like Rick is responsible for all these people. And on Rick's watch, we still lost a lot of people. So it's interesting what you make of the symbolism. It's hard to say what it actually means, as you can interpret it a couple different ways right now. Hopefully it's a little clearer in the episode, but Rick on top of the dead bodies, you can see Carol there, Jesus, probably a couple other people, it's hard to make out. But I think I see part of his shirt or something tied around the wound to put pressure on it. Hopefully he can make it out, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see Rick surviving after this episode. But Rick is looking at himself in the hospital when he was in the coma, and he's talking to himself, and this clip was in Talking Dead, so you can see Rick talking to coma Rick that's actually coming out of the coma, and they're interacting, and it's just weird to see, but awesome at the same time to see the Rick out-of-body experience. And then you see Rick on the white horse, but replicating the same scenes from the pilot, coming down the street into the city, down the street where the tank is. It's just interesting. And I wish Steven Yeun was confirmed to be in this episode, because that would be an awesome callback to the pilot episode with the tank and Rick being saved by Glenn. That would be pretty awesome. But we'll see Shane in the trailer for sure. But Rick and Shane together again, that's pretty cool. But I want to see what this all means. Is it just where Rick started to where Rick finished? And I'm very excited to see how it happens, but also sad because it's going to be the last episode with Rick Grimes. Rick is talking with Michonne. This is probably when he makes it back to the bridge after he gets away from the herd and he's saved by the group, because we know that big epic picture that we put in a bunch of different videos where Rick is wounded, he looks back and he sees Daryl and the group at the bridge. But Michonne clearly says, "We don't die." That's a comic reference to Andrea and Michonne on the show. And I want to see if Rick dies or not, because I think he does. What do you think? Does he live or die? But look at all those walkers behind Rick. That is a crap ton of walkers. And it takes me back to the season 6 premiere with Daryl on the motorcycle leading all the walkers away. Rick at the hospital here. I think this is part of the clip that was seen on Talking Dead. Rick with his bloody hand talking to himself in the hospital back in season 1, episode 1. And I think the trailer shows a lot, but also makes us wondering what the heck's going on. It's clearly hallucinations, but Rick leads the walkers back to the bridge. You can see all the walkers there, but he doesn't have the horse here. What happened to the horse? Did a whisper take the horse out? Did the horse just get devoured by walkers and Rick somehow got away? It just makes me wonder, because you see the horse and then you don't, or did Rick get off the horse and the horse fell away? The Talking Dead clip is this right here. You can see Rick in the hospital. You can see all the crows and the birds swarming around and flying. The birds turn into helicopters coming towards the hospital. Is Rick going to be on a helicopter? If you listen to the very beginning of the trailer with the horse walking, you can hear the sounds of helicopter propellers, and it's interesting that if that's going to make a connection with Rick being on a helicopter or not. Jadis could come save the day. Rick on the horse, we just see a shot of him on the white horse, but we already knew that. So again, what happens to the horse? Does Rick fall off the horse and the horse runs away, or does the horse get killed? I just don't know. Horses don't usually last pretty long on The Walking Dead, so I'm surprised we haven't seen that many more deaths of horses, but you know it's coming. And here are the great shots with Shane and Rick. Takes me back to the season 1 opening. Rick and Shane talking about Lori and just relationships, and it's like, whoa, this is a zombie apocalypse show? Wait, this is before the zombie apocalypse. And it's cool that we're going to see a Shane-Rick connection again. And here are the 2 shots of Rick on the horse. He's moving pretty quickly on the horse. I feel like Rick falls off the horse and he's bleeding from his side, and that's where the blood is dripping on his boots on the ground there too. So the horse should be okay, potentially. Maybe the horse gets devoured. Maybe the horse runs away to safety and then gets killed. But I just see Rick falling off the horse here. Then we see Rick in the hospital again. But if you look closely, you can see the "Don't Open Dead Inside" door is different. The "don't" has a line through it. It says "Don't Dead Open Outside." So it's "Don't Open Dead Outside." I would assume Rick goes through this door. You can see a piece of wood in the door handles, and there's no chain from the season 1 premiere doors. It's pretty different. So I'm going to think Rick opens these doors and goes through them and then sees all the dead bodies on the ground. But that's just my guess. Here's a shot of Rick on the horse down the same path that Rick and Daryl went down on the motorcycle. You can see the path off the street where the construction was, and probably Rick is initially getting on the horse to safety, and that's probably when he initially gets up off the ground. And here's the great shot of the bodies, getting more and more of them. And there's just so many of them. I'm assuming that every character that has died or Rick has interacted with, that he was kind of responsible for to lead, is probably dead here. And again, it's a comic cover variant that's pretty awesome that they're bringing more comic stuff like that, and even the variant stuff, to the show. But what does it truly mean? Is Rick feeling responsible for everybody, or without Rick, all these people will die? And in the AMC clip, you see Maggie and Michonne talking in Alexandria, and Michonne stops Maggie. And Michonne says basically to Maggie, "Do you want to go through me to go to Negan? Is that what Glenn would want?" And Maggie's like, "Well, I don't know what Glenn would want. That person inside there killed him. I never got the chance." And Michonne and Maggie are going back and forth, and Michonne's like, "Well, Glenn probably wouldn't want this." And Maggie goes, "Well, if Negan killed Rick, what would you do?" And it just goes back and forth. It's nothing new. We knew that Maggie's viewpoint and Michonne's viewpoint were pretty different. Maggie wants revenge. Michonne's like, that's not going to solve anything. That's not going to bring Glenn back. Glenn wouldn't want this. It's actually going to start more problems. But how does Rick get up off of the ground? We just don't know. Who is he pointing the gun at here in the Season 9, Episode 5 promo pictures? And how will this picture play out? To me, I just see Rick making it back to the bridge. And if you look closely, you can see a lot of people here. You see Jerry, you see Eugene, you see some Oceanside people, you see Diane, and we haven't seen this shot yet. So I would assume Daryl goes back to the campsite. Hopefully we'll get to see what happens there at the campsite with Jed and all that chaos there. Hopefully those saviors are gone. You know, they got to get out of there. But Daryl's there, Maggie's there, Michonne's there, Carol. Everybody's there at the campsite. So I'm guessing Maggie and Michonne leave Alexandria and go back to the campsite to help Daryl, Carol, and see Rick and help Rick. But will Rick get on the helicopter? We just don't know. A lot of people are thinking possibly. I hope so. I hope that Rick lives on some way or another, but I just don't see it happening. I just see Rick dying in the episode and not being around any longer, which is going to suck. But I see what they're doing with all the connections to prior seasons and hallucinations, and we're going to see Shane, Sasha, and Herschel, according to Angela Kang and the writers of The Walking Dead, that we'll see them in this episode. So I want to see how it all plays out. I'm interested to see if it makes sense. I kind of like all the callbacks. It just sucks that it's happening because Rick Grimes is dying most likely. So let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. If I missed anything, let me know as well. And if you're new to the channel or you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. We have a goal of 100,000 subscribers. Become a valued member of the PT channel and our Walking Dead family by hitting that subscribe button. If you love The Walking Dead, this is the channel for you. And remember, guys, with hard work, dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals. Believe in yourself. You can do it.